We are going to study now how to be healthy. This is important. The first thing to say is an absolutely classic thing in all spiritual traditions. Not only in the Vedic one, a person should wake up earlier. Because the sun in the Vedas is called Kalachakra. Kalachakra translates as the wheel of time. The sun activates karma within us. Therefore, we add 3.5 hours to 1 a.m. How much do you get? 4:30? Begins to come alive, to activate. And second, concerns start to arise in our heart. We begin to think something pulls and attracts us. We feel that cares start to affect our consciousness. When the sun hasn't risen yet, there aren't as many concerns. We think about something, dream, think about something sublime if we set ourselves up correctly. But when the sun rises, we're being carried somewhere. We need to cook, wash quickly, clean, go to work, plan something, and so on. That means that the sun activates karma. Remember, this is an important point. The sun activates karma, and when karma about an hour more sleep than men, it goes outward to the external sphere of activity. When the sun rises, energy moves more into the outer energy layer, and it's connected with thinking, with human will, with activity in the external space. It carries the person's mental protective cover. Therefore, working with the heart, with some deep internal mental functions is difficult, because consciousness goes outward. It doesn't work inside at this moment. That's why there are certain rules. When we change our life, change our fate, set ourselves up, this needs to be done before the sun crosses a certain horizon, a certain line. Because in India, and generally closer to the equator, sunrise is at 6 a.m. and sunset is at 6 p.m. There are no shifts in this regard. But if, let's say, we go in our direction, we can see that in summer the day lengthens excessively, and in winter it shortens excessively. In India, in the ancient Indian system, there is a concept called muhurta. Each muhurta lasts 46 minutes, and these muhurtas determine when we should wake up, go to bed and eat. But the problem is that these muhurtas are very strongly tied to sunrise and sunset, and it's assumed that the sun should rise, as at the equator, at 6 a.m. and set at 6 p.m. But we don't have that here. Therefore, I suggest in your daily routine to not tie yourself to sunrise and sunset, because it's not practical. You would have to wake up at 9 in the morning in winter and at 3:30 in summer. There is another way of thinking that works 100%. Let's take, for example, the Earth. It's round, like a ball. This means that the Earth has a certain relationship with the sun. There are 4 points that the sun passes in relation to the Earth. We know the upper point. It's the zenith. At this time, the digestive fire in the human's body is maximized because fire is the power that we consume. We don't have independent fire. All the fire that exists in our body, one way or another, is taken from the sun. There is indirect solar fire, which is expressed in the form of light, in the form of the fire of spices that we eat. We can add more oil to food. There will be more digestive fire from spices, from oil. But if you think about it, where did this fire come from? It came from the sun, because all fiery spices ripen in the sun. Red pepper ripens in the sun. We know that in Siberia, red pepper doesn't ripen very well. But if you take, for example, Indian red chili pepper, it's furious, like a tank. It has a very hot nature, impossible to eat in our climate. Thus, the more sun, the more chances for fiery products to ripen in it. For instance, in the far north, pepper will never grow and ripen. There's simply no sun there. So there is an external sun, and there is a sun related to food products. There is also the energy of the Earth's heat, which we don't understand at all, but it also exists. It is also absorbed by our body, but not to such a strong degree. Solar energy is the pure goodness energy of fire, and the fiery energy of the Earth is the energy in the mode of ignorance. Accordingly, fiery products are more in the mode of passion. They can also be in pure goodness, but they have more passion than in solar energy. Thus, you need to know that the purest digestive fire in the mode of goodness ignites in the body as a result of the sun reaching its zenith. Moreover, the digestive fire ignites best not when the sun has reached its zenith, but when it's approaching the zenith, because you still need to digest all the food. The body is designed so that it's best to eat a little earlier than the zenith, to have time to digest food before sunset. Therefore, the best time for lunch is from 11 to 13 according to our time. Keep in mind that in Russia, Lenin moved the clocks 1 hour forward, and everyone had forgotten about this already. We have summertime and wintertime, but the clocks are moved 1 hour forward everywhere. So if the sun is at its zenith at noon, the clock in all cities will show 1 p.m. This means that 6 a.m. is 7 a.m. according to our local time in each city. And in some cities, especially in Siberia, the shift is up to 2 hours, because large regions, and often cities, are likened to a time zone to which they don't belong at all. As a result, there's a 2-hour shift. There's a section on our website called Time Calculation, where you enter the sunrise and sunset time in your city, and then the calculation shows when the sun is at its zenith in your city, when it's 6 a.m., when it's 6 p.m., when it's midnight. These are the 4 principal points of the daily routine. At midnight, the sun is the weakest. This is the time of maximum sleep. An average person should sleep at least 7 hours nowadays due to our difficult life. Not 6, as we think, but 7, because many people don't have enough strength to get enough sleep for 6 hours due to city life, lack of prana, and pure goodness. In general, you need to sleep 7 hours. Therefore, we add 3.5 hours to 1 a.m. How much do you get? 4:30. And we subtract 3.5 hours from 1 a.m. How much do you get? 21:30. This is the ideal daily routine, when a person goes to bed at 21:30 and wakes up at 4:30. Such a person will be healthy. Women may go to bed at 9 and wake up at 5 because on average women need about an hour more sleep than men. So we've already learned that there are 4 main periods in which energies change in the body. During these periods, priests in Vedic culture read prayers, because this is when the most dangerous entry of karma occurs, and a person is defenseless. The period is called Sandhya. During these periods, there are also very serious changes in our consciousness. For example, when morning comes, after 7 a.m., it's already goodbye to deep spiritual life. At this time, it's no longer possible to deeply immerse yourself in overcoming fate. Just say goodbye to immersion. So this should happen from 5 to 7 in the morning. This time is the most favorable for prayer. When a person prays at this time, they really deeply immerses themselves in their life, in their victory, faith, in relationships with holiness, mental balance. At this time, energy is very balanced. At 7 a.m., air movement begins in the atmosphere. Our psyche is activated as well. Air movement begins in our body. And about 8 in the morning, air movement is getting very strong, and there's a strong feeling of hunger. At this time, you need to eat. Around 8 and 9 in the morning, according to our nomenclature of time zones. Breakfast should be between 7 and 8 in the morning, and breakfast should be light. Light means the sun is rising. It is preferable to eat those foods that ripen in the sun, because the sun is rising at that time. They depend on the rising sun. What products depend on the rising sun? Berries ripen when the sun rises. We know that berries ripen during the day. Berries can be eaten at this time. Fruits ripen when there's a lot of sun, and they ripen in the rising sun. Nuts mainly, except hazelnuts. All other nuts grow on trees, and they ripen like fruits. We can get an idea about the amount of sun in a particular area by watching the fruits that ripen there. For example, if someone tells me we have a very sunny climate, as they sometimes tell me, I say, okay, if you have a very sunny climate, what fruits ripen here? Do pears ripen? They say, well, only small ones grow. Well, that's it. Goodbye, sunny climate. It means you don't have a sunny climate. If pears grow big, then it's more or less sunny. But if you don't grow peaches, apricots, then it's not so sunny. Pears and plums grow almost in the same area. Pears and plums ripen. There are places in Siberia where even pears and plums don't ripen normally, only apples. Apples are the least sunny product among fruits. After pears come apricots. Apricots ripen in sunnier places. Where apricots ripen, walnuts also grow. Peaches ripen in an even sunnier climate. Even in the Krasnodar region, peaches barely grow, except in Sochi. In other places, they grow somehow, but barely. And in Sochi, peaches are already strong. And if we want to eat persimmons, then there should be no winter in that area. This is where there's no snow, persimmons and pomegranates. And dates are grown in the United Arab Emirates. There's plenty of sun there. Thus you can judge by the fruit how much sun is in a certain area. The fruit ripens when exposed to the sun. So we eat fruits in the morning. This is a sunny product. But there are exceptions. For example, if a person feels very hot during the day, a very hot person, like me, I'm a very hot person. In order to cool down after work, especially mentally demanding work, I need to eat fruits. What kind of fruits? Those that have a cooling effect. There are fruits that warm you up very strongly. These are citrus fruits. Therefore, citrus fruits are definitely only morning food. This is not evening food. But apples and bananas are cooling lunar foods. And if a person feels very hot at night, they need to keep the window open at night, or they need to have a very light blanket at night. This is a sign that heat is accumulating in them. It is destroying their health. This means that in the evening you can sometimes try to eat apples and bananas. This can help you. It's also good for people who have a lot of heat in their body to drink hot milk with honey about an hour and a half, or 2 hours before sleep. Often for people who have a very cold body, milk in the evenings may not be digested, or digested in small quantities. Therefore, it's better to drink milk in the morning for such people. Generally, it's recommended to drink milk as it improves the functions of human intelligence. It calms the mind and allows the intelligence to live, because intelligence is very strong when the mind works less, when it's not very active. A person can make decisions in a calm state. You need to calm down. Milk helps to calm down and thus enhances the ability for intelligence to work, to function. Milk is a lunar product. Milk ripens at night. Cows are milked in the morning and evening because solar energy is always needed to digest a lunar product. In order to digest a solar product, lunar energy is needed as an addition. For example, honey is a solar product. You can drink milk with honey. Dates are one of the most pure goodness fruits. Very pure goodness fruits, they are actually equal to honey in their energy, but they should be fiery. For example, you can't consume milk with apples. It will cause diarrhea. This is a cold product. This fruit is a solar product, but it's cold. It doesn't promote digestion. But dates are a very hot product. It promotes digestion, and it's also in the mode of goodness. It digests pure goodness products. It helps digest pure goodness products. That's why we give dates. They help digest milk. It's all scientific. There's also honey, which also helps digest milk, because both milk and honey are two products of love. Honey is a product of the love of bees, and milk is a product of the love of cows. These are the most pure goodness products on earth, milk and honey. Milk is digested better when you combine them. Avicenna ibn Sina wrote about this, the most brilliant doctor of our time. At the age of 5, he learnt the Quran by heart, and at the age of 7, he won. There was a gathering of Muslim sages, and they were reading the Quran. At 7, he became the winner among the sages reading the Quran, Avicenna. At the age of 11, he cured the king of the state he lived in and gained access to the royal library. At 17, he learnt by heart this entire library, and at 22, he wrote the Canon of Medicine. This book has been the main book, a textbook for all doctors in the world for 600 years. People like this are very rare, geniuses. Avicenna discovered that there are microbes. This was his discovery. He understood that there are microbes, and therefore he began to make protection against infection. He advised not to go to temples during epidemics, that people get infected there, stay at home. For that he was scolded by local priests.
And at what age did he pass away?
Early. He was about 50 years old. Such geniuses usually don't live long. Usually. Avicenna said that milk is very beneficial for aging people who have increasing fire in their body. More inflammatory diseases appear with age. Milk is very useful for such people because milk extinguishes unnecessary fire in the body and creates harmony. It harmonizes the body in this way. I belong to such people. Milk is very beneficial for me. But it happens that with age, a person's digestive fire greatly diminishes, becomes very cold, and almost nothing is digested. For such people, milk is not very beneficial with age, and fermented milk products become more useful. But dairy products, all cow products, are very pure goodness food. In Vedic culture, all dishes are prepared with the addition of something related to milk, either sour cream or kefir or cheese. All this gives the food a very exquisite taste. Now you are eating, you feel the exquisite taste of food, because it has a harmonious combination with pure goodness spices and milk, which increases the pure goodness in food, so it is very pleasant to taste. You can eat it and eat it and eat it. The foods that can be eaten for breakfast are honey, sweets, fruits, berries, as well as a little bit of dairy products. Just a little bit. Not too much, because in general they don't really stimulate digestion in the morning. Even kefir doesn't stimulate digestion in the morning. It stimulates digestion at lunchtime. Sometimes a person needs something with protein. like nuts. Nuts are a morning food, by the way. If nuts are not enough, then a person can eat sour cream in the morning. Why is protein food necessary? Because the harder the physical work, the more protein food a person needs. Also, protein food is needed for those who take the metro and buses. This stress of traveling requires stabilization of the mind. Both fatty food and protein food calm the mind. If a person doesn't eat fats and proteins, their mind becomes very jittery. Such a diet is good for monks. It's good for them to practice raw food eating, where there are few proteins and fats and more carbohydrates. This is good for monks who have a very calm life. But if life is hectic, then you need to eat fatty food to neutralize anxiety in the mind. Fat calms the mind, and proteins also give strength. Especially when a person needs to move a lot. Strength is needed. Proteins give the strength to work physically. Therefore, the more a person works physically, the more grains they need to eat. And the less they work physically, the less grains they need to eat. If a person works intellectually but eats a lot of grain, their brain becomes dull. They can't think clearly. Look, if a person is very tense, they need to eat something heavy in the evening to fall asleep. In the evening, it is better to eat dairy products rather than grain products, because grains activate karma, they strains the psyche, and in the evening you should relax, but not strain. I have an important message for you, especially in northern regions where it's very cold. In the morning, you shouldn't eat fresh fruits. It's best to eat dried fruits. In hot areas, it is better to eat fresh fruit in the morning. This helps activate the body. But if a person is hot by nature, they always need to eat fruits in the mornings, both in winter and summer, to remove excess heat from the body. And if a person is cold by nature, they are constantly freezing, they have bad digestion, then in this case they should always eat only dried fruits in the morning, or fruits, but with weakened energy. How to weaken the energy of fruits? There are two ways. Either make juice from them, or stew them in the oven a little bit. Just put them in the oven for a few minutes, and the apples no longer have the same power to excite the body as fresh ones. Prana is destroyed by grinding and heating, the prana of the product. Prana means life energy. If there's too much life energy, a person gets overcool. Wind extinguishes fire. Life energy or prana means wind inside. If a person has weak digestive fire, their digestive fire is extinguished when they eat a lot of fruits. If you grind them, they will become softer and gentler in effect. In general, you don't need hot food for breakfast. Most people don't need hot food for breakfast. You need fruits, honey, berries, and nuts. But it happens that a person has weak digestion, then they need hot food. If a person has very weak digestion, they can't digest cold food at all. And then you need to heat everything. Then you need to use recipes that allow heating food in the morning. For example, there are various omelets. You can make omelets without eggs, casseroles from the same dairy products. If a person, let's say, has little digestive fire, then they need to make dairy dishes mixed with fruits and dried fruits in the morning. That's the kind of mixture. Honey also stimulates digestion well. There are also other morning foods such as buckwheat, for example. It's not a grain. Buckwheat is not a grain. Therefore, buckwheat is easily digested in the morning. You can make a hot dish with buckwheat in the morning. What should a hot meal in the morning be like? Sweet. You can add raisins to it. You can add various dried fruits. In the morning, it's best to use sour cream to top foods. Not oils, but sour cream, because any oil has a very hot nature. Especially butter. It's a hard to digest product. It's dangerous to eat butter in the morning. It might not be digested. You can top a dish with kefir and sour cream in the morning, and it will be well digested. Drinking milk in the morning is the best. Women can especially mix milk with ghee to support hormonal functions and for better digestion. Heat it and drink. Or you can drink it cold, but then without clarified butter. You can eat it with honey, for example. Honey will be digested if the milk is slightly heated. How long to wait before eating again? It's generally better for women to eat more frequently. Most women should eat several times a day. After milk, you can eat again in about 2 hours, or an hour and a half. It isn't necessary to drink milk from 7 to 9. In general, if we're talking about milk, it's better to drink it before 7 in the morning. While the sun hasn't crossed this line that we've drawn, before 7 in the morning, milk is digested very well. It's digested under the light of the moon. Therefore, you can drink milk at 6 in the morning. As a woman doesn't eat but snacks, she can drink a little milk, half a cup, then eat breakfast by 8 o'clock. Women have very restless minds. They need to snack a little sometimes. It is normal for women to eat sweets. Men shouldn't snack. Men need to eat substantial meals. Otherwise, their mind doesn't work normally. But there are men who also have weak digestion. Such men also need to eat several times a day. But lunch should be the most substantial. The most substantial meals should be at lunch. You know, there are different schools, different opinions. For example, Ayurveda recommends eating mung dal in the morning, according to Ayurveda. And mung dal is the softest grain. It's the most digestible. Therefore, Ayurvedic doctors advise eating mung dal in the mornings. I personally don't recommend it. I've conducted research in this regard. I saw that it weighs people down. It's not a problem to digest mung dal. You can digest it in the morning. The problem is how it affects your mind and you're working on yourself. My diet is designed for self-improvement. What I'm giving you is the perfect way to develop. If you don't eat grain products in the morning, your mind will remember better, your praying practice will be better, and your work on yourself in the morning will be easier. All this will help you to self-improve. But if you just need to eat well, then mung dal in the morning gives strength, gives the ability to act somehow. But again, it depends on what time it is in the morning. Closer to 10 or 11 o'clock, when the sun has already risen, grain begins to be digested, especially if a man has heavy physical labor. But this is not conducive to self-improvement. Try eating bread in the morning and then start studying something. Your mind will be heavy, dull. I've checked this 1,000 times on my students, on my acquaintances, on everyone who eats like this. Try eating bread in the morning, and you'll see that your brain doesn't work well during lectures. It's obvious. It's an obvious thing. Do they give you bread in the morning? Well, who eats it? Raise your hand. Those who eat bread in the morning, does your brain work well? No? Then stop it. You are sincere people. For breakfast, we have cheese, cottage cheese, and fresh dairy cream. Among these options, cheese is the best choice. If you're lacking protein, cheese is an excellent breakfast option. It digests easily, provides energy, and supports digestion. Cottage cheese, on the other hand, is a cold product. Not everyone can tolerate it. It's beneficial for breakfast for those with strong digestive fire, particularly individuals with a hot constitution. Additionally, a person with a strong moon in their horoscope tends to have a good memory, strong intellect, and restful sleep. For these individuals, cottage cheese is suitable as it is a lunar product. For them, eating cottage cheese in the morning helps cool the digestive system and provides calmness and strength. Protein-rich foods promote activity and vitality. Dairy cream is less suitable for everyone compared to cheese, but it is particularly beneficial for women. Dairy cream is a key hormonal product for women. For women, two main hormonal foods can help stimulate female hormones. The first is dairy cream. Especially young women who need to give birth should eat cream in the mornings. This improves hormonal functions. Dairy cream is the first such product. The second product is a sweet treat, but not one based on flour. Chocolate, for instance, is misleading. It's not truly sweet. It has a bitter taste that does not support female hormone production. Female hormones benefit from actual sweetness. I recommend various fruit-based sweets like dates, dried apricots, and figs. When it comes to sweets, don't shy away from sugar. Women, embrace sugar. Generally, there are 3 types of sugar. Some people thrive on beet sugar. It's not harmful to them. You will find that one of these 3 types of sugar suits you best. Others may prefer palm sugar, often labeled as brown sugar. And the third type of people are suited to cane sugar. Personally, I find beet sugar works well for me, but it's not suitable for everyone. If someone consumes beet sugar and starts experiencing hormonal issues, pancreatic problems, weight gain, or bloating, it's a sign that beet sugar is not for them, and they should switch types. Nowadays, dark sugars are sold in stores. Sometimes they're labeled as tea sugar. Look closely. Often you'll find cane sugar in small print.
How can I determine which sugar is right for me?
It's quite simple. If you eat a type of sugar and find your mind becomes foggy, it likely doesn't suit you. Sugar that doesn't match your body creates excess heat and can lead to emotional tension, causing irritability. Especially in the evening, if you mix your sugar with milk and feel refreshed the next morning, that sugar is right for you. Conversely, if you mix milk with unsuitable sugar and wake up feeling sluggish with a coated tongue, it indicates poor digestion. Cheese and fresh cream are suitable options. Don't worry. If a man starts consuming dairy cream regularly, he won't suddenly feel overwhelmed. As the song goes, "Goodbye, my life, goodbye." This won't happen, don't worry. Female energy is needed by any man. It calms him down. Female energy brings a woman into a state of activity, hormones are activated, she becomes beautiful. As the song goes, her eyes are 3-carat diamonds. This female energy increases from female products, from dairy cream and so on. And these products calm a man down. Men need them too. If a man eats only dairy cream, it's clear that at some point he will start growing breasts. This also happens.
What about carobs?
Carob has a bitter taste. Remember, all bitter foods indicate degradation but can be beneficial for health. For instance, yellow mustard supports immunity, and dark bread helps endure life's challenges. Carob falls into this category. And what is it needed for? In heavy cities like Moscow, where sadness prevails, people may turn to carob, chocolates, or similar items. Chicory or roasted barley, all this is the energy of bitter taste. This is the energy of sadness and hopelessness. When living in a melancholic environment, one may need to process this energy. Some resort to coffee, but it is not recommended. Coffee is a drug containing caffeine. You should avoid coffee. Tea is unacceptable. It contains caffeine and also LSD, especially in black tea. This leaves options like chicory, carob, or barley drinks for those seeking bitter flavors in moments of sadness. Women often experience grief and need to dream. Chocolate and cocoa can be comforting. Cocoa is acceptable occasionally since it doesn't contain caffeine, but it's not a pure goodness product.
What can be eaten in the morning besides buckwheat?
Another option is sago, also known as millet.
Can we have oatmeal?
Oatmeal is a grain. Grains, including oats, are important, but eating them in the morning may cloud your mind. The energy of grains is linked to solar energy, essential for clear thinking. Grains grow under sunlight. Sun energy is necessary for thinking. When a person eats this product, grain, it's very strongly connected with human activity. Monks should eat fewer grains because they don't work. They just pray. They don't need grain. A person needs grain to overcome the hardships of life, and therefore grain is digested with difficulty and gives strong, tense energy to protect a person from mental overload. But morning is a light time. It's a time for prayer, meditation. You don't need too much protective energy in the morning. However, for those engaged in physical work, grains can be necessary for breakfast to fuel their energy needs. If in the morning, early in the morning, they start working and they have heavy physical labor, then they need grains in the morning. They ate, and it all digested with the help of muscle energy. That's all. But for those pursuing spiritual self-improvement, consuming grain products in the morning can hinder focus. If you ate bread in the morning, say goodbye to morning lectures. Of course, you'll get happiness. You'll sit there listening. But if they ask you, what was in the lecture? You'll say, I don't know, but the lecture was good. Sunflower seeds are a good option as they ripen under the sun and are not classified as grains. You can enjoy sunflower seeds in the morning. Have you ever noticed how rice grows, in ears indicating its grain nature? You should also avoid eating legumes, bean pods in the morning. Look, if early morning is meant for prayer and meditation, then the time from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. is meant for memorization. The sun is not too strong yet, the mind works well. You can learn some sublime works, poems. In the morning I learn slokas by heart. These are various Sanskrit sayings. The time from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. is meant for memorization and deep understanding of material. Also during this time you can do some exercises, you can jog, do yoga, pranayama. This time is also meant for health restoration. You can combine 30 minutes of mental activity, then 20 minutes of exercise, then again 30 minutes of mental activity, and then again 20 minutes of exercise. Such a combination provides the best option for a person's development, and it's best to do it outdoors. You need fresh air for mental work and physical activity. So organize it for yourself somehow. For example, in the morning I walk back and forth to study something. It's good for me to do it while moving. Some people prefer sitting, but it's better to open a window at least. You need more fresh air for studying and physical activities. There are dissertations that prove that if a person lacks fresh air in their life expectancy is reduced. You should always try to ventilate the room. You always need more fresh air. But in general, women are always cold and men are always hot. So there's always a problem in the apartment. How much to open the window? Women always close it and men always open it, but sometimes it's the opposite, but rarely. Did you remember that you need fresh air for studying? From 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., you should engage in activities that require more mental activity but less memorization and assimilation. For example, you can study something for your education or plan your day. During this time, you can engage in management, plan something for yourself. This time is meant for more superficial mental activities. You can study something on the internet, statistics, and so on. You can still study during this time, but it's already more difficult. If you have work at this time, then do it during this time. We don't choose this. In general, if the workday starts no earlier than 10-11 a.m. and ends no later than 6-7 p.m., it means that a person has very good karma. In our clinic, most people work from 1 or 2 p.m. and finish around 7 p.m., and our morning time is meant for spiritual life. That means in the morning we pray, read the scriptures, study everything, but since you don't work in our clinic, it's impossible for you to organize your life the way you want. I told you about a pure goodness organization of the day, but mostly people live in passion. Passion means working in the morning and resting in the evening, but there's also degradation. It is when a person works from morning till night. That's already degradation. It's even greater degradation when a person works at night. If you're in such a situation, don't change anything. Just study more spiritual matters, pray, and gradually your consciousness will elevate. God will give you work at the right time. Then you will develop. The best time for lunch is from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. in our climate. But generally it's better to have lunch at this time everywhere. We know that in some countries during lunchtime, no one works at all. Everything closes, everyone just eats and rests. So this time is meant for lunch. How should you have lunch? In our area, I recommend this arrangement of dishes. First, you need to eat something sweet. Sometimes people with strong digestion drink a sweet beverage. Sometimes they eat some sweets before the meal. In general, lunch starts with a sweet taste and ends with a sweet taste. Sweet taste is pure goodness, so I recommend you drink a little of some sweet beverage before eating. And then you need to eat food that activates the intestines. But you should not eat that food at the end which suppresses digestion. In our climate, salads suppress digestion, but they activate digestion in the intestines. That means they increase activity, but there's less fire. Therefore, the very first thing you can eat is a little salad. Then you need to choose either soup or side dishes. It means various stewed vegetables, rice or porridge. This is the next food. If a person has weak digestion, they first eat soup to activate digestion. Soup is meant to activate digestion. If the soup consists only of carrots, then it's not soup, but a beverage. The soup shouldn't have too much sweet taste. Soup is made of spices, water, and grains also can be there. Grains also activate digestion if they are in small amounts in the soup. Beans can be in the soup. Something grain-based can also be added, as well as spicy spices and salt should be in the soup. Salt is not a harmful product. In general, people need different amounts of salt. The more tense and concentration a person has in life, the more salt they need. The less tense and concentration a person has, the less salt they need. But you should use salt only at lunch. You should not eat it in the morning and evening. Salty food should be at lunch only. In the morning, sweet taste predominates, and you can add a little sour also. It means in the morning there should be a sweet-sour taste. At lunch, all 6 tastes should be present: sweet, astringent, sour, spicy, salty, and bitter. By the way, in the morning you can eat sweet, astringent, or tart, and sour tastes. Sweet taste is the most pure goodness taste. Food should always have a sweet taste in the morning, in the afternoon, and in the evening. Sweet taste makes food pure goodness, develops consciousness, and gives a person a good character. At lunch, all 6 tastes should be present. A person needs them all. Sweet taste develops consciousness, gives calmness, peace, and happiness. Astringent taste gives activity, the ability to overcome difficulties and asceticism practice. Sour taste helps to forgive, relax, and relieve tension. Spicy taste promotes activity and emotionality. For example, artists who play emotionally need a spicy taste in food to maintain their expressiveness. There are even very emotional nations. If you don't do as I said, I'll stab you. Eastern people are very emotional. They need to eat a lot of spicy food. Eastern cuisine makes spicy dishes because people are very emotional there. Siberians, on the contrary, are calm. They don't say anything, they just stab and that's it. Therefore, everyone has their own temperament. In Siberia, you don't need to eat a lot of spicy food, but people who live in an eastern climate need more spicy food. Spicy food is needed for emotions. In general, the sunnier the climate, the more spicy foods are physiologically necessary to consume. When I lived in Moscow, I couldn't stand pepper at all. But now, after living in the Krasnodar region for 3 years, my digestion has adjusted to the new climate. It took time. So now I want to eat ginger in summer, after living there for 3 years. Sometimes I want to add paprika to food when I'm cooking, because there's more sun and the climate is sunnier. Those who live in India, even Russians, they're already eating chili. They want even spicier food. It depends on the climate. That's how spicy taste affects emotions. Salty taste is good for concentration. When there's intense, hard work, mental concentration is needed. Especially when there's mental strain, a person should eat more salt. Tastes are needed to maintain the mind in a certain state. Sweet taste helps to keep the mind in the state of pure goodness. Astringent taste makes it ascetic. Sour taste makes it compassionate, indulgent. Spicy taste makes the mind emotional, active. Next, salty taste makes the mind concentrated, tense, capable of working, and bitter taste is meant to remove activity. It's the taste of passivity. When a person is in depression, they shouldn't eat bitter foods. This is one of the recommendations for depressed people. Depression means that a person doesn't want to do anything, only dreams and thinks. That's what depression is. If one can't even think, it means the depression is even stronger. If one can't dream and can't sleep, depression is very deep.
What if I want salty food all the time?
It means you're just tense. This is not depression, this is tension. Depression is sadness and melancholy are overwhelming me. I walk alone. That's depression.
So what should I eat then?
You need to eat more sweet foods, try to live actively, communicate with kind, good people who are not in depression. So today we've stopped at lunch. Let's finish it. First something sweet, then salad, then soup or stewed vegetables with porridge, and at the end, something sweet. You can have a small piece of cake. You often ask me, when should we eat cakes? You can have a small piece of cake at the end of lunch. That's the sequence. You can drink some tea at the end. We don't drink sweetened tea. We drink a sweetened beverage, some kind of herbal tea. You can drink herbal tea. In general, when talking about herbs, there are herbs that are called herbal tea. These herbs relieve mental tension. Such herbs are mint, rosehip. We call them herbal teas. They improve mental activity, relieve mental tension, activate memory, calm a person, and allow them to calm their mind. They improve workability and calm a person. These are herbal teas. Such plants include rosehip, hibiscus, mint, lemon balm, cardamom, fennel, cinnamon, star anise. They can be used for making herbal tea. You can make tea with them. Also, such plants include thyme, linden blossom, saffron, dogwood, and anise. You can use any of them for making herbal tea. If we boil dried fruits, it's called dried fruit beverage. It tones a person, activates activity, but unlike herbal teas, it doesn't relax the psyche as much. It has more of a tonic effect. There are also herbs intended for treatment, not for mental stimulation. These are all other herbs: chamomile, oregano, St. John's wort. These are not herbal teas. They shouldn't be drunk constantly. These are medicinal products. Tea is what we drink constantly after lunch. These are the herbs I have listed. Tarragon and fireweed also belong there, but I wouldn't include ginger. Ginger is a spicy drink meant to overcome colds and strengthen immunity. It also stimulates digestion. Ginger is not a purely classic tea spice. Currant leaf, raspberry leaf, these are tea.
What about stevia?
Stevia also belongs to teas. We're not talking about tea as a plant, but as a drink that performs certain functions, relaxes the nervous system and tones mental activity. So let's move on. We've finished lunch. Daytime is meant for work. All types of work. Mental, physical, psychological, all of this is meant for daytime. Evening is meant for family. The best way to spend an evening with your family is through spiritual conversations. This is the best way to restore family ties. Some people ask, how can we revive our relationship? People often don't have close relationships in the family. They live together for a long time, and the relationships become stale. As a result, a lot of negativity is accumulating. To restore relationships, just talking doesn't help. Some think, We need to talk more with each other, communicate more. But the pain from such conversations can be revealed even more strongly, and everything only gets worse. To restore family relationships, you need to read the scriptures together, study the lives of saints, and discuss all this. When you do this, you begin to see the spiritual qualities of your loved one, and your relationship is reborn. You see the soul in your loved one, and the relationship becomes sweeter and deeper. For example, when I go to bed, my wife sits down and reads the scriptures or spiritual stories. I listen to her voice while I have the strength, and then I fall asleep. She leaves a bright, pure feeling when she reads the scripture to me. She gives me a light, pure feeling. When she's cooking, I come, sit down, and read her a verse from Sanskrit scriptures. She learns it while cooking. This is how we communicate in the spiritual sphere and have spiritual conversations. This significantly improves our relationship. This is the most effective way to improve relationships. Simple conversations don't help. People start talking about something good, but they touch on painful topics, and the conversations turn into a quarrel. When a relationship isn't going well, it ends in a fight. If we discuss spiritual topics, we give up further discussions. We talk only about God and holy persons. This helps to improve relationships. To learn more on the subject of health and healing of the body, please make sure to read my health guide, available for download on my YouTube channel or on my Instagram page. Thank you very much, and see you soon.